Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today a tutorial. I said I would make a tutorial for textures and stuff, and today I am going to do exactly that. For example purposes, I made this simple cube. Yeah, really simple, 6 sides. You can see that they're already stretched there, that I already put out the UV. This was not intended. 6 sides. Nothing special about this. And I want to show you basically 3 different things. I want to show you how to apply colors. I want to show you what a bump map or a normal map is. And I want to show you what opacity is and how it works. We'll also dip into stuff like emission and emissive textures, so glowy stuff, but just a bit. So this is the form I chose, and we have it here in Des Studio. I imported this with the 3D light setting, and I will show you in a second why. So first off, I have this surfaces tab, and if you if you click into that tab, you have basically the object or objects of the scene, basically the object you chose, or if you have multiple, all the chosen objects, and the materials. So going back to Hexagon, we have the material set up here. It's called cube, and this is exactly the one that you see here. The body is also named cube, and yeah. Currently it is bluish because it has a bluish texture on it. And we're going through everything really quick, so I don't really use the text thing. Lightning model. If you import this in 3D Light, you have a few simple lightning models. You have plastic, which, if we switch into the Iray vision, you can see that this looks rather plasticky. If we change this to metallic, it doesn't really look metallic, which is an issue with all the images that I used previously. So for example, I had this this was the usual style that I had long ago. I used a flat yellow color, and I used the metallic setting, which doesn't really look like metal at all. Then I switched a bit and had this a bit more metallic texture here, the golden one. But this wasn't also really what I wanted, and in the end I managed to find the option for actual glossy or actually reflective metallics, which I will also show you later. But for now, we are going to check the options that we have with 3D Light, which is basically the texture shaded version. I will also show you the difference in render in a bit if we use the different engines. But first, so we have skin, which again, you don't really see a difference here. Glossy plastic and matte basically, but it doesn't really look that much different. Now if we render this in plastic, let me show you really quick. We are doing a quick 3D Light render. This is the render engine, takes just a few seconds, at least with my PC right now. Looks very boring, very flat. If we render this in Iray, it gets a bit more interesting. It looks less flat. It looks more plasticky, but it's still not that great. yeah, but this is how I worked basically for a very long time. What else do we have? We have the glossiness, which basically changes the reflection on this. So as an example, if I reduce glossiness and specular strength, the light reflected from this object, because it's plastic, it reflects light kind of, gets reduced. Ambient color is also something to do with reflection. It basically, you can have it give off a different reflection, a different light reflection. And then we come to some interesting thing that is called opacity strength. And opacity strength is defining how see-through, how opaque the object is. So the further you reduce opacity, the less visible is that object. So right now we're in the Iray vision, so this is basically what we're getting in the render with a little bit better quality. But yeah, reduced opacity means the object gets more see-through. And we have this neat little triangle here, this little button, which is, by the way, on most of these. And what it does is you can choose an image on here, for example this one, and what this does is it puts a map on top of this object that decides the opacity partially. So basically everything in this image can I open this with Urban View really quick? Yes, I can. Aha. It is black and white. It has black and white stripes. I'm going to move this to the side and make it a bit smaller so we have it in the corner while we work on the rest. But you can see that the black part is set over as basically opacity or see-through, and the white content is not see-through. So you have basically whenever you check the color, you have basically full color value of 255, and you can go to 0 color. And the higher up or the lower up you on this scale, the more the less your object is visible. So basically, if you have a completely black opacity, then your object would be completely invisible. If you had a completely white opacity map, or if you have no opacity map, then your object is completely visible. Now the same is here with the strength. So basically 0 means completely black, 100 means completely white. So this basically decides how much of your object is visible. As another example, I sometimes use this planetary floats map. Let me quickly show you this one. And what this does, or what this would do, is basically add this this opacity to the whole object, more or less. By the way, if you think, okay, this is I want more details, I want this to be smaller, I want this to be repeated on the object, this is also a thing, but this is further down, so we'll check that out later. Okay, the next option we have here is the bump strength, which is another interesting thing that we'll check out right now. Bump strength is basically it gives fake depth to your object, and what I mean by that is you can, so you have no slider here. You have to put in a map, for example the planetary float that I just used, and right now we don't see anything because it automatically sets the bump strength to 0, and we're going to pump that up to 100%. And what you can see is that you see this kind of fake depth, or this on top of the object. So basically what it does is similar to the opacity strength. The more black something is, the more it is in the background, and the whiter or the lighter something is, the more it sticks out from the actual reflection. So as you can see, this object is still completely flat. Yeah, but it looks like there is a like there is some kind of a texture to it. So bump strength does more to the gives more to the texture and to the shape of this. Or not the shape, but it fakes the depth of this object. You can also basically improve these with these sliders, by basically saying, hey, it goes further in, or it comes further out, or both. So yeah, you can also manipulate this. Displacement is a thing I didn't really play with. So I don't really have an idea what this does. I don't really use or need this. But it's a similar, if less visible effect on the object. Yeah. Then we have a normal map. A normal map works similar to bump in that it fakes any kind of light reflection. Basically, it changes the light reflection on top of the object. You can use a black and white map, but usually bump maps have a different look differently. So what I mean is, I have these hair maps that I made that I used an AI to create. So this was one of my experiments where I tried to see if I can use create in my process, if I can use AI in my process. And what this basically does is, you can see that it changes the light on top of this, and this color is usually how light works. Let me quickly show you the image. Okay, this is a bit small, I'm sorry for that. This isn't really a high quality image. I mean, it is really made with high ISO. A bump map, which is black and white, together with a similarly made normal map, can create kind of good fake depth on objects. So if you I usually make these myself by hand in GIMP, so yeah, the quality is not that great, I know, but well, it's what it is. Yeah, but these are basically the maps that I use. By the way, for example, I also use this for my Yaha exploit, because bump maps can't be exported to Yaha, but normal maps can. Just for the just as a side information, currently not. Yeah, reflection and reflection color is basically manipulating what color is reflected, or how the reflection looks, and how the color is or how light would be dispersed when it hits the object. This isn't really a thing I play around with much. What I sometimes use, let's use the floor opacity again, is the horizontal tiles offset and the vertical tiles and offset, because you can say, okay, I want this to be, yeah, well, basically want this to be like a wall, or I want this to be like made from bricks, and these bricks are too big, I want them smaller. So you can increase or decrease the number of tiles. Tiling means how often the texture is repeated on top of this object. Yeah. Okay, this isn't really helping, so I'm going to turn into this. Actually, these kinds of textures are used for metal. This is basically made with a gradient trick in GIMP. So yeah, rather simple. Yeah, and we want to improve the tile set. We want this to have more smaller details, so we increase the number of tilings. Basically, this means that the texture here is copied. Both of these are copied basically 3 times and then put next to each other. So it's basically, instead of a 1x1 grid, it's now 3x3, so 9 times tiles. You can also move these. Okay, let me do texture mode. You can also move these. You can see that they now yeah, basically shove them around. So in case you have like a specific object you want like on the side, you can use this to offset the whole texture and move specific parts around. Yeah, for the rest I don't really touch these in any way. Okay, this is the basic RSL method, and if we go into Iray, we can also increase our I lost my train of thought. We can increase the texture and make it more look like metal. So right now it doesn't really look that metallic. So it kind of, but not really. Yeah, not like in my current renders. So what did I do? I basically played around with the presets here. So what I used for some time is glowy stuff. I tried to make things glow with emissive. An emissive element, and for that we need a different kind of shading, a different kind of texture appeal. And if you click up here in the presets, you Des3D comes with a few presets that you can use. I'm usually going into everything that is Iray. For example, you have the emissive, which gives your object a luminescent element. So basically it provides light by itself. Yeah, it's a light source. And you have 3 different others, for example glass, different kinds, and just by applying them you can see that this is now glassy, and as well metal. And this is what I'm currently using. For example, if I use something golden, I just apply the metal gold, and you can see that this already looks a lot different than the metals from before. And this looks similar but has a few more sliders. So basically you have the weighted thing in the base mixing. Materiality is something I usually don't touch. I leave this in the black, and this is fine. I also don't touch the white mode. Base mixing basically plays around with the reflectiveness of this thing. So depending on what kind of material you want, you can change this. And yeah, I usually use the the RSL render for everything. Yeah, looks like this. Looks really flat. So the RSL textures. But for metals, I started to use the Iray presets that I found. Let's go back to this now. What I usually do is apply the golden base color, which is the same as the diffuse color before. So this is basically the color that you see on the outside most of the time. You have a lot of stuff like roughness, which messes with the reflectiveness of these of the texture or of the surface, basically. So this yeah, changes. For example, this can change your metal to a more matte version. Just to show you. Let's do a quick render for this, and we have a metal cube. Do we actually have metal cube? Yeah. And if I reduce the glossy layered weight, it is a bit less metallic. It's more matte. But yeah, you can also play around with the glossy color, which is, I mean, just play around with this, find out what it does. Yeah, and just try it out. Okay. You also have the same options. So basically you have the base color, which is the same as the diffuse color as before. You have base bump. Oops. You have the normal maps, which has the same effect. So if I use the hello or not, if I, for example, use the base bump of the floor and increase this to 1, I have this effect of or this illusion of depth. If I grab a normal map as well, I can further improve on this, because it also messes with the light reflection. So I actually have this actually looks like it has these scratches or these markings. Yeah, emission color is basically if I want this object to emit light by itself, which you can play around with, but I recommend, if you actually want to have it emit light, go to the presets with the emissive preset, which is a bit different, a bit easier. You can then basically also choose the color of light that is emitted from this yeah, and stuff. You can change the intensity of the light with luminance. For example, I can make this 250 kcd per square meter. I have no idea what these mean. I mean, this is watt, this is probably lumen, but CD and kilo CD is, I have no idea. If I use something glowy, for example, the unicorn horn I made recently and I showed in a render on my Discord, I think. It's not in a video, that much I know, so sorry for that. I'm not going to show you yet. Heh. Is set to 250 luminance and 250 kcd per square meter luminance, which basically helps it that the whole thing is actually visible. Again, the emission color basically just tells you how glowy the stuff is. So the background color is basically how strongly it glows, and the color you set in front is basically which color this also gives. So you can also like set this here, and then you have like a bluish shining object, which, by the way, yeah, messes with your base color, so you don't really see that anymore. Just saying. You have vertical and horizontal tiles, so you can, yeah, increase the amount of tiles here again and have this more detailed. As you can see, this applies to the color as well as the base bump and normal map. Basically just copy paste it a few times. So right now we have a 3x3 grid again. We can move this around if we want to. But yeah. You can, yeah, increase the, can basically round the corners a bit. It isn't really that much. But yeah, you have a few options to play around with this. And that is basically it for today, or almost. There's one thing I want to show you back in Hexagon that I found recently, and I didn't have that much time playing around with it. So first steps first, I'm going to grab the, I'm going to realign the texture here and hope that I can make this work somehow. So what I found, thanks to a stream of someone who also worked in 3D but uses Blender, is two tools, the paint tool and the brush tool, which are under the UV tab in Hexagon, and you can use these if you have a material setup and if you have a image setup. So basically you can click on the texture image and then you can choose a an image. In this case I basically chose the light blue image as a base, and now I can actually work on this. I can grab the paint tool. Now the texture is marked, and if I draw on this, you can see that I'm actually drawing on the object. You can see that this appears on top of the texture here. Can also change the color, so I can just or not. Oh yeah, I need to obviously activate this. I can paint different colors on top. If I just say, hey, I want to have like I want something written here in a really bad word. Great, okay, nobody can read this, but whatever. So I have this. I can also paint transparency instead of texture. I can basically just say, hey, I want this to be more transparent, which doesn't really, which kind of works, yeah, as you can see. Okay, let me accept. Okay, yeah, you can see that this is a bit more opaque here, where I painted it. Now this side is completely solid, but this is kind of opaque, so I can also create a opacity map on top of this. You also have the brush tool, which gives you a bit more options. You have texture, transparency, bump, and displacement. Yeah, you can grab the bump map, grab, for example, even a different mask, and then paint this. You can also yeah, increase the oops, this is a bit big. Increase the brush size, for example. You can use different alpha mask, which is basically a different a kind of yeah, you can basically play around with this. I haven't really gotten into this feature yet, so I can't really give you a lot of advice for this. How it works and what it does. This is something I have to figure out as much as you. But you can see that you can basically pre-work your object before you export it. I'm not 100% sure how the exportation of these maps work. There's an export bump tool, which gives you values I have not really played around with. So you can basically say the image size is a bit bigger, so you bigger image to work with. And then we save this as bump map 01. Let's make it a PNG. Let's see what this actually does. Now I'm really curious. So yeah, no please. Base bump. Let's grab. Where is it? All files? No, not all files. Okay. Pretty sure we just exported this. Try this again. Accept. Random bump. Okay, did it export it actually? No. Random bump. PNG. Or need I need to do it? Okay, let's overwrite this one. Let's see if it works or not. Not really. Well, okay. So this is something I still have to figure out, but I hope this gave you an idea of how the actual pieces of the bump or of the textures work, what you can do. I usually mostly use these flat colors and then throw some of the different maps that I created myself on top to make this interesting. But yeah, this is something you just have to play around with and see what happens, see what you can come up with. Yeah, usually it is a good idea to use the same base bump and normal map, and then you get some cool, interesting stuff. But yeah, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you guys around.